Okay, it looks like our visitors have joined. So, my name is Noah. I'm one of the educators with Shortcuts. Thank you for attending this Tuesday classroom session. Today, we're going to look at the basics of the appointment book in the Shortcuts point of sale. Now, just so you know, we've actually added Spanish versions of these classroom sessions. So, tomorrow, Wednesdays, at the same time, 9 o'clock, we will be doing a Spanish version of the appointment book basics. So, if your manager or your staff or you are a little bit more comfortable in Spanish, then that's just tune in for tomorrow's presentation. So, we are recording today's session. And let's go through this in case you've never attended a classroom session. So this presentation is about 30 to 40 minutes. My microphone is on. We are recording this session. We will be sending a copy of this video out to everybody that signed up a little bit later today. So if you have to drop out early, that's okay. Or, of course, if you want to watch this video later, that's just fine. We will send you a link. We will allow time for questions at the end. So on the right side, if you're using the GoToWebinar plugin, you should have a little question, a little chat bar. So that's where you can ask your questions. So let's go ahead. And today, we're focusing on the appointment book. Now, specifically, we're using version 8 of Shortcuts. Version 8 is the newest build. You may be familiar with version 7, which is Fusion, which is our most popular build. But on this version, we're going to be looking at version 8. So the steps that I'm going to do, they should apply even if you have the previous version of Shortcuts to your build. So there's a few things that have changed, but the majority of the steps should still apply. So we're going to learn a little bit about the new appointment book interface, some of the basics, how to work with tags and tasks, and some of the extras that you can do in the appointment book, and of course, the cloud appointment book, which synchronizes with your regular point of sale appointment book. So, what has changed visually in version 8 of Shortcuts? What's different? So, we want to make sure you can still navigate around the appointment book. If you've used Shortcuts before, you're familiar with the interface. At the very top of the screen are the names of the staff members. On the left side of the screen, we have a calendar button on the top left, which shows what day you're looking at. And on the left column, we have the hours of the day, so usually the business hours. At the bottom of the screen, you have the ability to turn the pages on your virtual appointment book. So you can go forwards or backwards one day or one week at a time, as well as filter for specific employees or types of customers, plus the menu settings. So we're going to review all of this. It looks like somebody has a question. Stand by just a second. Somebody raised their hand. Does somebody have a question? Maybe there's you can't hear me or it sounds, huh, that was curious. Somebody had raised their hand on the question portion, but I don't see anything. Okay, well, let's continue. We will, remember, we will have a chance for questions at the end. So again, we're looking at version 8 of Shortcuts, and we're going to learn some of the basics of the appointment book. So let's actually jump into it. So I'm going to get out of the presentation for just a second and into a live build of Shortcuts. So I'm going to jump into Shortcuts. So while it's launching, I do also have my cloud version loaded up. So again, at the top of the screen, we have the names of the staff members. On the left side of the screen, the whatever business day that we're looking at, in this case Tuesday, the hours of the business, and at the bottom of the screen, the ability to go forwards or backwards one day or one week at a time. So the cloud appointment book very much complements the traditional point of sale appointment book. If your salon has a tablet or has a second computer, or even the employees want to use their mobile devices to move their appointments around to look at employee notes or customer notes, they can actually use the cloud. And this is protected by security. So you can set certain permissions. So for example, let's say you only want the staff to look at their appointments, not necessarily move or make appointments or even get too much information on their customers. You can limit that in the cloud. And again, that's accessible on a tablet, on a mobile device, or on a second computer. because this is all web-based. It's cloud-based. So let's go into Shortcuts. So this is version 8 of Shortcuts, and it looks similar to the version that most of you are familiar with. At the top of the screen are the staff members. On the left side, our business day and hours. And at the bottom, how to go forwards and backwards on our appointment book, one day or 1 week at a time. Now on the bottom right, some of the settings that you may have forgotten about. The menu button does allow you to change how much of the business day are you looking at. Are you looking at the complete business day? Are you looking at just half a day? And as you notice, on the left side of the screen, the schedule, you do have the ability to scroll up or down and see how the rest of the business day is going. But this clock on the left side will automatically advance as the day progresses, so you don't have to constantly keep scrolling up and down. Or you can just tell Shortcuts, I'd like to see my whole business day. On the bottom left are the filters. And again, you may already be familiar with this, but some of you may not be using it. Let's say you want to look at appointments that were made online. Those are the ones that require review. Or you just want to look for certain employees, such as the ones that are currently scheduled to work or clocked on. So the appointment book is very similar to what you're already used to, but there's a few changes that I'd like to highlight for all of those that are starting to transition from Shortcut 7 to Shortcuts 8. So let's go back to the presentation for a second. So some of the things that we've changed. When you're making an appointment, you do have the ability to search through your client list or to create a new client. So we're going to look at how to make appointments for new clients or existing clients, how to move them, how to resize them, how to delete the appointments, how to check the status of the appointments, and working with the touch tip. So again, we're going to go back into Shortcuts. So at the very top of the screen, before we even make an appointment, you'll notice that there's a little green dot next to the names of all of my employees. What that represents is that my staff members are actually clocked in and ready for work. So they're here, they're sitting at their chair. Now, if I click on Andy, the very first employee, when I click on his name, Shortcuts will actually bring up his client or his employee information. And on the top right, staff members can actually be given the permission to clock in and clock out via the button on the top right of the screen. And notice if I clock off Andy, the little green dot next to his name disappears. So Shortcuts recognizes he is not in right now or he's not working right now. However, the rest of the staff is. So in this case, if Andy is running late or I'm tracking his hours for payroll, I want to make sure that he knows to clock on. Additionally, on this window at the bottom, you can give the staff finally permission to change their own security pins. So previously this was protected and only administrators or owners could do this, but you do have the ability to give them permission to set their own pin. Now, of course, Andy does not necessarily have permission to go into anybody else's profile and set their pin. Only that employee that is currently logged in can adjust their own pin. Again, unless you elevate their security permission. Also, the information that they put here. If you're using the Shortcuts app, whether it's the branded app or the standard Shortcuts Salon app, if they enter some information in their employee card or their photograph, things like that do synchronize so that in the About Your Staff button in the app, customers can actually see the names of your staff, read a little bio about them. So that can also be upgraded, can also be customized. So now making an appointment on the appointment book. If you have an existing customer, it's very easy to do. Whenever you click anywhere on an open spot, so under Joe, we have somebody that wants to come in at 12 o'clock. I'll click on that empty spot, and on this window, I can search for my customers at the very top left of the screen. And I can search via first name, I can search via last name, I can search via phone number or email address. So any contact information for a client, I can type in here. Now, if I have a preference, there is a filter button. And I can tell Shortcuts I always prefer searching via last name instead of first name. Not only that, but if you have a multi-site salon and all of them have shortcuts, it doesn't matter which site they visited. As soon as you start typing that customer's name, Shortcuts will check your other locations and then bring them up. So it is a global search. And the way you know it is a global client, so for example, if Robert was from a different salon, on his client profile that pops up, on his name to the right side, there would actually be a little globe icon. It's not there because this Robert is one of my locals. So he visits this salon specifically. So if Robert's making an appointment, I can search for his name, choose it, and press next. The second thing Shortcuts usually ask for is to tag the client. So tags are important for your salon because you get a sense as to what type of customers you've received. So at the end of the month or at the end of the quarter, you can run a tag usage report and get a head count on how many new clients did I have versus how many salon regulars versus how many were specifically requesting an employee. So in this case, Robert is going to request a visit with Joe. And then on the left side, Shortcuts will show me my service categories. And at the very top, the most recent or the most frequently purchased services for this particular customer. So Robert usually comes in for a men's haircut. He's come in for a pedicure before. Or I can manually choose haircuts, and he's getting a buzz cut today. Once I press done, Shortcuts then makes the appointment right on Joe's book. Now, if this was a new client, again, I can select an open time, perhaps 1 o'clock with Joe. I'll press New Client, and I'll add a new customer. You can customize what questions your business would like to have. In this case, I'd like to get a first name, a last name, and a phone number, with the other fields being optional. So the next person that comes in, we'll say is Sam Smith, and I'll get a phone number. And I even happen to get an email. Now, this is important for your business if you're doing a lot of marketing or if you're doing SMS or text confirmations. You want to give the customer the ability to opt in or opt out, of course, for privacy reasons, whether or not they want to receive those messages. So you can have these questions right here as they sign up. So in this case, Sam prefers to get email marketing, not text marketing. So I can opt him out of text, and he prefers to get his confirmations via text and not email. So I can make his adjustments here. And he doesn't mind getting a survey from me. So I'll have the bottom checkbox. So I'll press done. Sam has been added to my client list. I'll go to the next window. I'll say Sam is a new client, so I'll give him a tag. And once I press done, Shortcuts will ask me, what service would Sam like? Well, Sam's coming in for a haircut. He's coming in for a men's haircut. And done. So just like that, you can search and make an appointment for an existing customer or a new customer. Now you'll notice that every appointment that's on the books is in 2 shades, a light shade and a dark shade. If I were to click and drag on the light shade of an appointment, I can actually move the appointments up, down, left, or right. So that's what the light shade does in Shortcuts. The dark shade of the appointment allows me to change the length of the appointment. So if Sam needs an extra 30 minutes or 15 minutes, I can just drag the length of his appointment. So this is something that Shortcuts has always supported. What's new in the appointment book when I'm making the appointment is if this particular employee, so if Joe isn't able to do a men's haircut in 15 minutes, he needs 30 minutes every time. As soon as I extend the length of this appointment, I can right click on the service and actually tell Shortcuts, this is Joe's service duration default time. So for every other employee, a men's haircut is 15 minutes, except for Joe. From now on, every time Joe gets a men's haircut, it will always remember to book him for 30 minutes instead of 15. So that's a new feature. The other new feature is if on your appointment book, your book is pretty much filled for a particular time where it's difficult to see where there's an opening, on the left side of the screen, where the hours are for the business, if I click on the time, then Shortcuts will actually allow me to make an appointment. It'll let me search for a customer or add a new customer, and then it will try to find an opening at that time for the first available employee. So that is actually a new feature. You can actually schedule an appointment right from the clock on the left side, and Shortcuts will try to assign it to the first available employee it sees. So those are a number of the new features in the appointment book. We have staff details where the staff can clock in and out, set their PIN, put in messages either for themselves or you can leave messages for them. You can make appointments, add customers, move their appointments around. You can make appointments even from the clock on the left side of the screen. And of course, if you have multiple locations, you have a global search. So you can search via first name, last name, phone number, or email. Any of that contact information will synchronize across all of your sites. So what else is new in this version of the appointment book? Well, let's take a look. So we were talking about tags and tasks. So your business doesn't have to use the default tasks that Shortcuts has. So if you'd like to have just two tags, one that says salon regular, new client, then that's it. But if you're very particular on the types of clients you're receiving, you can change the tags, you can relabel them. So maybe instead of salon client, you have a barber shop and you want to call it shop client or just regular customer. You can change that. Also, you can set your own tasks. So if the staff member needs to be away for a few minutes, maybe they're going to lunch, maybe they're taking a break, or maybe they have to do inventory, you can mark that out on their appointment book as a task. And customers, whether they're in person or online, cannot make any appointments during that task. So Shortcuts treats it just like an appointment. You can't double book it. So let's actually, before we get into any extra tips, let's look at that. So in the appointment book, let's say Joe is going to take a lunch at 2 o'clock. I would click on that 2 o'clock opening as if he's receiving a customer, but at the top, I'm going to schedule a task. Now, these are the default tasks for my business. And again, you can create your own task. At the bottom, you can press new and create a new task for your business and even tell Shortcuts how many minutes is it. So I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to call this smoking break. So I'm going to say the smoking break is 15 minutes long and I'll press done. So now I'm going to choose this, and when I press done, the smoking break appears on Joe's calendar, his appointment here, and no customer online or in person can take that spot away from him. So you can do the same things for any other employee. Schedule a lunch, for example. So Andy's taking his lunch at that same time. And you'll notice it behaves just like an appointment. So I can move the task around by clicking and dragging the light shaded area. And I can also change the length of the task. So Andy's going to take an hour for lunch. I can stretch it out a little bit. So tags and tasks. The other thing for any standing appointment, when you click on it, you get what's called a touch tip. Now previously, the touch tip appeared at the bottom of the screen. This time, the touch tip appears over the appointment whenever you select a specific appointment. And on that window, you're going to get information about the services the customer is receiving, their contact information, and at the bottom, you can change the status with a single button click. And Shortcuts has a logical step for this. So the customer has a standing appointment. If I press confirmed, it changes the color of their appointment. So now the light green lets us know that this customer has confirmed their visit. If the customer actually arrives for their visit, again, I click once on their appointment and the confirm button automatically advances to arrived. And of course, from arrived, if the customer has finished their visit, I click one more time and I can check out directly from the touch tip. And I can go backwards too. So previously, you would right click and you still have the ability to right click and make those changes here. The customer has arrived, the customer has confirmed, the customer is ready to check out. But now I can just do that by pressing once directly on the touch tip. On the bottom right of the touch tip, you have a number of those options that normally appear when you right click. Why is this useful? If you're using a tablet, if you're using a mobile device, you can just press one time and then this pop-up window will allow you to make your adjustments rather than trying to figure out how to do a right click on a touch screen. It's a single click. If you click once on an appointment, next to the name of the customer is a pencil. This is your edit button. So if Danye comes in, I get a new phone number or I get a new email, I can update his client information right here. I can put in a message, I can change his email, I can go into info, maybe put in his birthday, whatever I get an extra piece of information. So let me go back to the presentation. I'm going to restart this. There we go. So we've looked at making appointments, we've looked at moving appointments, we've looked at getting into customers' information, and even working with tags and tasks. So those things have changed a little bit from version 7 of Shortcuts, and you should hopefully now be a little bit more familiar with that. So some of the extras that you can do. Well, I mentioned that on the touch tip, you do have the ability to arrive clients and to check them out. You, of course, have the ability to group clients. From the appointment book, you can right-click and add those customers into a group. If a customer is a regular, they visit once a week, once every other week, you can set a recur schedule with them. And the same applies to tasks. So you can recur appointments, and you can also recur daily things such as a lunch break or a smoking break. The staff does have the ability to leave messages for themselves or messages for each other. And the staff can even look at future appointments that they have. So let's take a look at that. So before we jump into the cloud, we'll look at that in Shortcuts. So again, at the top of the screen, if I wanted to leave Joe a message for tomorrow, at the bottom of the screen, I'll go to tomorrow by pressing the date button. I'll click on Joe's name and I'll leave him a message. So the message I'll leave for Joe is, let's see, where am I going to, capabilities? No, we're not going to update that. No, I'll actually go back to, I'll go back to the screen. I'm not going to leave Joe a message, not today. But to recur an appointment. So Sam is a regular customer and he likes to get his haircut every Tuesday at about 12 o'clock. So what I'm going to do is right-click on Sam's appointment and set a recur. And it's very easy to repeat appointments in Shortcuts. You only need two things. You need to tell Shortcuts when is his next visit and for how long does he want to repeat the visit. So Sam comes in every 3 weeks for a haircut. So his next visit will be in 3 weeks, so February 9th. And then for how long does Sam want to keep his status, his visit? So Sam is actually going to hold on to it for at least half the year. So I'll go to July, and I'll choose the last Tuesday in July, the 27th. So Shortcuts will now automatically make his appointment at 12 o'clock every 3 weeks with Joe. So it's just that easy. If somebody else comes in every week, then when you right-click and go to recur, then you say, okay, the following one is Tuesday the 26th until, and you choose an end date. Those rules also apply for tasks. So Andy likes to take his lunch at 2 o'clock every day. So if I right-click on his lunch, I can set a recur and tell Shortcuts his next lunch is tomorrow, the 20th, and he's going to hold on to it. And do I set my employee schedules until March, or for half a year, or for a whole year? And whenever I click the last day, Shortcuts will repeat his lunch break at 2 o'clock until the end of that particular period. So again, you can recur appointments, you can recur tasks, you can also group customers. So if I right click on Sam, I can put him in a group, and I'll put him in a new group. Shortcuts just labels them with a number, but I'll call this Sam's group. So once I press done, Shortcuts puts a little group icon, a little 2-person icon at the bottom of his appointment. I can right click on Robert, and I can add him to Sam's group. And the same applies for anybody. I can add as many people as I want into this group. So this was available in version 7, but the group checkouts are a little faster in version 8, as you'll discover. Now let's go back to the presentation, and let's talk a little bit about the cloud. So most of you are already familiar, already comfortable with the Shortcuts point of sale, but you might not be using the cloud, or at least not the cloud to its full potential. So the cloud is normally where you would go to set up your marketing. So if you're sending out happy birthday emails, we miss you emails, or even the brand new appointment acknowledgement emails, or if you have special rules, and for most of us, it's because of COVID, you want to let your customers know about the rules. So you can actually tell Shortcuts through marketing, send an email to the customers or send a text to the customers 30 minutes before their visit, an hour before their visit, and let them know these are the particular rules. So arrive, wait in the parking lot. We will call you when your chair is ready, or call the salon once you're in the parking lot. Let us know you're here. Of course, don't bring a coat. We do not have coat racks available. Things like that, just simple rules. You can also set up the other ones like the happy birthdays, the we miss yous, the no-show emails. That's in the cloud. But the other reason you want to use the cloud is because of the appointment book. It's a fully functioning version of your traditional point of sale appointment book. So you can use a tablet, you can use a mobile device, and that can go between the employees so that the staff doesn't have to wait for the receptionist, for the front desk to schedule the next visit for the customer. The staff member can just bring it up, set the recur, set the appointment, choose the service, put in visit notes right on the cloud. They don't have to go to the point of sale anymore. So if you're not using it, do consider starting to use the appointment book on the cloud. If you're not familiar with it, or if you're running a super, super old version of Shortcuts, let us know. We can get you upgraded so that you can begin taking advantage of the cloud. So again, this is all web-based. So the only thing you really need is an internet connection. So you don't need a secondary laptop or desktop computer. A tablet, as long as you can get it online, can access the cloud. So that is an overview of the appointment book. Some of the things that are different in version 8 of Shortcuts, but the majority of which you can still do in version 7 of Shortcuts, Shortcuts Fusion. So you should now know how to navigate the appointment book, some of the basics of making appointments, moving appointments, how to work with tags and tasks, and of course, accessing the cloud appointment book. So this is the part in the classroom session where we're going to open up the floor to questions. So if you're using the GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting plugin, on the right side, there is a chat, there is a question pull-down menu. Go ahead and type in your questions. And for those that are watching this video after the fact, if you think of any questions, or if you want to take a look at version 8 of Shortcuts or schedule an upgrade, do reach out to us. Do let us know. I'm going to put our contact information on the next slide. Also, if you have any questions after the fact, you can reach us on our social media. So we are on Instagram, Shortcuts North America. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. So if you reach out to us, we will read your questions. We will get back to you. And of course, we'll make sure that it gets to the right department, whether it's support, education, customer care, do let us know. So I'm going to check for questions on the right side. Let me see. And okay. Don't have anybody that's popped up just yet. Okay, so we'll go to the next one. I think our review of shortcuts, the appointment book, is sufficient, no questions. So if you have any questions after the fact, if you're watching this video later, here's our contact information. You can reach out to us at customer care. You can reach out to us on social media, Facebook, Shortcuts North America, Instagram as well. And we will get back to you. So tomorrow, Wednesday at 9 o'clock Pacific time, we will have a repeat of this classroom session, but it will be in Spanish. So if you have a Spanish-speaking staff, you want them to become a little bit more familiar with the appointment book, you might want to have them sit in on tomorrow's classroom session. And just like today, we will record it, we will put it on our channel, and you can watch this at your leisure. So thank you all for attending the classroom session. Again, my name is Noah, and I look forward to seeing you in the next sessions. Have a great day. Oh, and thank you for attending. I just saw the pop-up. All right. You have a great day, everybody.